Hey guys, I am back with a new video with this project created using our cherry blossom garden background stamp and our Haute Gala wedding dress stamp set. I started off by stamping the 6x6 cling stamp onto some watercolor paper, and then I colored in the blossoms and leaves with zig markers. I'm starting with my lightest color first, which is a sugar almond pink zig marker, and after I blend the color out with a water brush, I add in a little bit of shading details with my peach pink zig marker. This background panel will essentially be the dress pattern. So you don't have to color in the entire panel, but I did for this video. So I'm coloring with my zig markers. These zig markers have a water-based ink in them. I put down a little bit of color into the corners of my blossoms, and then I blended the color out with my water brush. I did that for both shades of pink for the blossoms. I also did the same thing for the greens. I just added a little bit of green to the inner portions of the leaves, and then I blended that color out with a water brush. I just pulled the color out and added a nice blend to the entire surface of the leaves. After I finished with the leaves, I just added a little bit of peach pink to the inner portions of my sakura blossoms. This adds a little bit of depth and shading to my flowers. I actually made this card for a friend's bridal shower, and it was just so perfect and just on point because her wedding dress is actually, it contains some floral elements. So this custom bridal shower card was so perfect, and she ended up loving it. And I can finally post the video because I gave the card to her a couple weeks ago. So after I finished painting the leaves, I went ahead and just colored in some of the branches with a brown zig marker, and then I just added some red details to the sakura blossoms or cherry blossoms. I just free-handed these details, but it wasn't that difficult because those details are already on the panel from the stamped image. So really you're kind of just tracing these details, but I wanted the elements to show up a little bit more in the background pattern, so that's why I just added those with the red zig marker. Once I finish coloring in my panel, I'm going to stamp the dress portion of our Haute Gala set right onto my cherry blossom background. I'm using our Noir dye ink pad to stamp this image. You don't have to stamp the entire image. As you can see, a little bit of the head got cut off, but I just need the dress portion, so that is okay. After I stamped the image onto the colored panel, I stamped this gal again onto some white cardstock, but for the second stamped image, I only stamped about the top portion of this image because you only need the head and the arm portion, because the rest of the portion of the card will be covered up by the background pattern. Next, I cut out the dress from the background pattern. You can just cut off the arms and just make sure you get like the bodice portion as well. You can use the die to cut the dress portion out, but I chose to fussy cut the dress so that it didn't leave that white line around the die cut. So that's why I wanted to just fussy cut and get as close to the dress line as possible. So once I fussy cut the dress, I put it aside so I can color in the rest of my gal. For her skin tone, I used, I believe, the Flesh and Blush colored zig markers. The blush color was used to add shading, and then for the hair I used, I believe, it's two shades of brown. I used a light brown, it could be oatmeal, and then a darker brown for the additional shading. Once my coloring was complete, I took my dress cutout and adhered it right onto the cardstock using our double-sided adhesive sheets. Once I adhered the dress to my cardstock, I just trimmed off all of the excess portions of the dress with my paper trimmer. After I trimmed off all the excess pieces from my cardstock, I stamped the sentiment from the same Haute Gala dress stamp onto the panel with our Noir dye ink, which is a crisp black dye ink. And I took the largest die from our double stitch rectangles large die collection, and I die cut, stitching to the edges of my panel for some interest. Then I took the 3 sparkles from our Haute Gala dress set, and I just stamped them onto the white portion of my panel in our crystal pewter dye ink, which is a really nice soft gray ink. So I'm basically creating a custom background for this Haute Gala gal by using these 3 tiny stamps from the same set. So this is a fun way to mix it up by creating your own background. This would have looked really nice if you embossed it in a metallic embossing powder. You could even metallic emboss it onto her dress as well to add a little bit of sparkle, but I just wanted to keep her dress simple and let the cherry blossom background kind of steal the show for this card. So once I finished stamping my background in our soft crystal pewter dye ink, I added a little bit of texture to the background by adding tiny dots of gloss white Nouveau drops. This is the shade, I believe, gloss white, and I just added tiny drops all over the white portion, and this is going to give the card a little bit of texture and dimension. And the white details are also very subtle since it's white on white. So I really love this look. And if you end up getting too large of a drop onto your cardstock or panel, just take a piece of scrap paper to kind of lift some of the Nouveau drops away. And this completes my card. I really enjoyed making this card for my friend's bridal shower. She absolutely loved it. So thank you all so much for stopping by and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed today's project. I'll see you next time.